Hello and welcome to Business Today Television. I am Siddharth Zarabi and with me now is Mr. Apurva Chandra, the Secretary of the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. Welcome to this special at Business Today TV. Mr. Chandra, we are discussing India's G20 presidency, and viewers, as you know, the 18th G20 Heads of State and Government Summit is being held in New Delhi on the 9th and 10th of next month, and it's going to be a culmination of various processes and meetings that have been held throughout the year. Mr. Chandra, I'm coming to you to explain to our viewers what India's presidency at the G20 has really meant. As far as the economy is concerned, international agencies are extremely bullish about the economy and our growth potential. What has been achieved through this 1 year, really?
As you rightly mentioned, Siddharth, because the G20 Summit is the culmination of an effort of 1 year. Over the past 1 year, India has held various meetings of the working groups as well as the engagement groups. More than 50 cities, almost all the states have been covered, and so many of the delegates have come to India, and a lot of deliberations have taken place on various issues. The Indian agenda on all the issues is there. India has something to say, something to contribute to the G20 and to the world. Now, on the economic side itself, the digital public infrastructure, if you look at it, that is, I think, one of the biggest achievements, that in India now almost 80%, more than 80% of transactions, billions of transactions are taking place seamlessly through our digital public infrastructure. And again, this infrastructure is something which is led by the public sector, by the government, through the support of the government. While in many other countries, even if such an infrastructure is made, it is through the private enterprise, and then it is not in an open architecture where everybody can join in. And here we see that so many of the other companies, including whether it is Google, whether it is Paytm, so almost all the companies have joined into this, and now the transactions are happening seamlessly. It is hugely empowering, and this is something which I think we are contributing to the world. Then our startup story, the way we are promoting the startups on the mission life, which has been recently launched last year by the Prime Minister, the work which we are doing on agriculture and millets. So there are so many things which we have to tell to the world, and I think this is giving us a showcase in that sense. As regards the economy, what you mentioned, I think it is an effort of 9 years that now the entire world is recognizing that India has taken a lead. It is the leading nation. We have now reached the 5th largest economy, and now it is just 3-4 years down the line that we will be the 3rd largest economy, and the entire world is taking note of these achievements.
Mr. Chandra, one of the key points really that our viewers would like to further understand, and I must stress it at this stage, when it comes to the G20, it is the grouping of the 20 most powerful nations, most advanced from all points of view. A sustained engagement like this in a rotating presidency, does it enhance India's voice as a credible, stable, democratic nation in this part of the world at this high-profile global forum?
It is a rotating presidency, but then each presidency contributes something. And as I mentioned, that this time India has a very broad agenda of what we have done to showcase it to the world. And I'm sure many of these things will form a part of the Leaders Declaration when it happens on the 10th of September. We are not really privy to what the declaration will be as of now. But once it comes out, we will see that the stamp of India will be there. And once this declaration comes out, it becomes an agenda for all the countries to follow, to implement over the next few years. So it is not just a question of 1 year, it is a continuous agenda which everybody, all the countries follow that template.
And that's an important point. We are at a pivotal moment when it comes to the global economy, and even the global strategic and political framework at this stage. What kind of role do you see uh, the G20 deliberations having when it comes to global peace? We are seeing what is happening as far as the conflict is concerned and the consequent economic issues. What can be expected as far as restoring a sense of order globally is concerned?
India's position has been very clear, and the Prime Minister has enunciated it in his own words that this is not the time for war. And I think that is the position which India takes at all multilateral fora. And it has this line of the Prime Minister has attracted, has been repeated by many of the other world leaders also. And this shows the statesmanship of our Prime Minister, that the entire world has taken to his words that this is not the time for war.
One of the other things when it comes to global issues really is financial stability. India has, for example, for quite some time now, Mr. Chandra, been talking about the need for a global standard coordination when it comes to cryptocurrencies. Similarly, there are other issues which are multilateral issues. What can we expect as far as that part of trying to set the global agenda is concerned, especially in the space of financial stability and development?
I think just a couple of days back, there was this meeting regarding the anti-corruption measures of the G20 ministers. And there also the Honorable Prime Minister made the statement that information sharing is very essential, so that any misdeed or if there is any taxation related issue in one country or some defalcation in one country, then it should not be that it gets hidden through the mechanisms in some other country. So I think that is a very important point. And apart from that, the financial stability and all that is, of course, I'm sure it would be deliberated during the Leaders Summit. India, of course, during this time of turmoil where many other countries are facing a turmoil, India is again a leading beacon as one of the largest economies and growing at a very fast pace, expected to be 6.5 to 7% this particular year. So, and inflation also well under control. So I think India has a lot to say in this regard.
Mr. Chandra, one of the features of the Indian G20 presidency has been this focus on getting all these dignitaries from the G20 nations, taking them all across India, getting them to experience firsthand the vibrancy, the diversity, and all that really is India. How did this idea come about, and can you share any experiences of what this has really led to in terms of soft power push that we have attempted?
In fact, this has been one of the biggest achievements of this G20, that in our country also, we are a country of 140 crore, and almost everybody is now aware that G20 is happening in India, what an important event it is in India, right from the villages to the cities, to the towns, and everywhere. And again, because of the vision of the Prime Minister, G20 meets, whether they are the engagement groups, whether they are the working groups, ministerial groups, they have been held in various locations, more than 50 cities, all the states, and the delegates who have been coming here from various parts of the world, not only the 20 countries, but there are additional countries, 15 other countries, then the other participants from the multilateral agencies. They have been wondering about the diversity, the cuisine, the artifacts, the handicrafts, and they have been shown all these things, textiles. And apart from that, the people themselves, because various parts of the country have different cultures, speak different languages, but despite that, the unity of India is something which we have showcased in a beautiful way to the world. I have myself visited 2-3 locations. One was at Kumarakom, where there was a Sherpa meeting, then another meeting at Siliguri, another at Srinagar. Now, Srinagar itself, while the media, the foreign press carries the image of Srinagar and J&K. But then when the delegates were there, it was for them to see the way a situation has changed in Kashmir, the kind of crowds, because this was, I think, sometime in the month of April or May, and so many tourists just going about freely on the Dal Lake and other parts of the Srinagar. So that was something which if people see by their own eyes, then that is the message which they carry back to their countries, that how things have changed for the better in Jammu and Kashmir. Then again, Siliguri, which is again in the northeast, there were some ambassadors who were there, and they were so enchanted by the beauty of that place that some of them said that we would like to come back again. I mean, one of them said that after 15 days, I am coming back to bringing my family back here. So I think it does make a difference in terms of tourism, in terms of the awareness about the country, the culture, and so many other things. And then the involvement of the people, because the way everywhere G20 has been welcomed, whatever be the state, the way the welcome has been done, which again shows the unity of our country and how we carry an agenda forward.
Absolutely. Would you agree, Mr. Chandra, that India has now set a new benchmark for any country to host a G20 Leaders Summit, and that this 1 year will now be the standard on which subsequent events in other countries will be judged?
I think it is a very, very high benchmark. It is very difficult for the other countries to follow.
Absolutely.
But definitely, it will become the gold standard.
It will become the gold standard. I want to come to another point, and this is India's attempts for Make in India. And Make in India has been very different from earlier such attempts. Earlier, sometimes it was interpreted as excluding global capital, but Make in India wants global capital to come and set up manufacturing capacity in India and create employment and export from here. Do you think this entire 1 year push, which has been spearheaded by the central government, by various ministries, including yourself, also has led to a better awareness about India as an investment destination with large companies who may so far have not come to India?
Of course, I mean, because and again, as I mentioned, this Make in India, also it is an effort of the past 9 years of this government that Make in India has taken off. It is not a 1 year thing, but yes, in terms of showcasing, G20 has definitely helped, because the changes don't come overnight. And the ease of doing business. In fact, I remember I was Principal Secretary Industries in Maharashtra at that time in 2014 when the government took over. And the first conference which the PM addressed in a big way, that was the Make in India. So Make in India program was one of the first programs which was launched by the government. And the results are now there, because the way the economy is growing and the way the FDI in India itself has crossed $60 billion. It has overtaken even what was invested in China last year. So in terms of the visibility of these efforts, yes, G20 has definitely helped, because everywhere, wherever the meetings were held, there were also side events which were showcasing the Atmanirbharta and Make in India to the delegates as well as the foreign media.
One of the sideline events which is happening later this month is a B20 Summit, a business 20 Summit, and from the lineup that we have seen so far, the who's who of global industry is slated to visit New Delhi and participate in that 3-day B20 Summit. Business Today itself is also organizing a India at 100 Summit during that entire 3-day period. What are the expectations of the government of India from the B20 Summit and the participation of these high-profile business leaders and CEOs from all over the world?
The main, of course, the objective of the B20 Summit is, of course, to attract investment into India, to make the leaders, the business leaders of the world, to understand the changes which have taken place and the way investment is attracted in India. Then India is open for business. There are so many Indian companies also where tie-ups can take place. And incentives, so many incentives are also available from the state government, from the central government, apart from the easing of the rules. And of course, the market, the growth rate, the stability of the country. And India, of course, has become a attractive destination. In the China plus one strategy also, so many countries want to diversify their production away from China, and India is very well poised to take this forward.
Mr. Chandra, just a last couple of questions, and I come back to a point that you made at the start of this. One of the key things that is going for India is not just the fact that there is democracy, there is demographics, it's also the digital public infrastructure that has been built over the last so many years and which is now in some ways being exported globally. Certain countries are looking at BHIM and other such efforts are being made. Do you think that the digital public infrastructure that India has now championed across a host of sectors can be India's gift to the world in some ways at this point in history?
Yeah, I agree with you, Siddharth. And being in administration, I would say that this is one of the most transformative thing which has taken place in administration. India has become independent now. We are celebrating the 76th year of independence tomorrow. But this has been the biggest transformation in administration of our country over the past 76 years. In fact, the way the subsidies are delivered, that itself has changed so much with now with the direct benefit transfer. I remember when I was in petroleum, and that time LPG subsidy, LPG and kerosene subsidies were there almost at one point of time, they were almost 60, 70,000 crore, almost 10 years back. But now with subsidy transfers being direct, whether it is LPG or it is fertilizer or it is food or it is scholarships in so many sectors. So I think it is hugely transformative. Then digital payment itself, that anybody on a street, now cash has gone down substantially, and anybody on a street can use payment mechanism, and we are all used to using these mobile apps. In fact, when you go to USA and Europe, one comes back with a whole bunch of coins. I mean, you would have also seen that we come with a pocket full of coins, while in India now, hardly anybody uses coins or currency now. So in a country like India, which has which people said that there is so much of illiteracy, so much of people are not lettered, but then we have taken to this like anything, and then again the digital also has contributed in a big way because data is so cheap in India. In fact, I had been to UAE last year, and there 1 GB of data is equivalent to 1,000 rupees, while in India nobody even thinks of 1 GB of data.
Absolutely, some of these things are now absolutely taken for granted by Indians. As we wrap up this conversation, Mr. Chandra, I just want you to say a few words on the India at 100 summit that Business Today is organizing on the 26th of August. It is our effort to contribute to the entire year-long G20 programming that has been done by the Government of India by getting various business and economy thought leaders to come and talk about what can we expect and what we need to do to ensure that India at 100 is one of the most prosperous countries in the world. Your thoughts on that?
I must compliment Business Today for thinking of a summit at this very opportune time when G20 is being held, and you have scheduled it just about 15 days before the G20, when the entire world will be focusing on India, and just around the time when Business 20 would also be happening in India. So I think it is a very opportune time, and you as a business channel would bring a lot of focus on the achievements of the country, and I'm sure that this summit will be your summit will be a big success, and you will be able to attract a lot of investors into India and showcase the achievements of India. So my best wishes to you and your summit.
Thank you very much for those kind words, Mr. Chandra, and we wish you, the entire Government of India, in fact, every single Indian, not just a happy Independence Day, but a great and grand finale to this year-long effort to showcase India to the world through the G20 Presidency. Once again, thank you very much for your time. With that, viewers, it's a wrap on this special conversation with the Secretary of the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, Mr. Apurva Chandra, where we spoke about the G20 exercise throughout this year. If you've been, thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.